I'm one of the authors of the Wicked series. Also, I've written 2 series that have to do with vampires. One is Crusade, and it's a lot of fun. And I've also written a series, which the first book comes out in October, Kiss at Night, which is vampires, and I'm going to be very cutting edge because it's a Christian novel about vampires. And they are actual vampires. So yeah, this time next year I might be here, not be here. People might have crucified me, I don't know.
And I'm Dr. Scott-Viguie. I am a Doctor Who podcaster and an archaeologist. And so...
And he hears me talk about vampires all the time.
I'm Ken-Spivey. I'm a musician. I have a Celtic Doctor Who band. We're actually performing Sunday, the Ken-Spivey band. If you want to hear what happens with the Renaissance Fair, talks about Doctor Who and drinking. You've come to the right place.
Awesome.
Well, something that came to me while we were waiting for this panel to start is that if anyone saw our earlier panel about Arthurian legends in Doctor Who and Stargate, one of the things that was interesting that came about was in there, Doctor Who had 6 or 7. Doctor Who had one story, a Battlefield, and Stargate had 6 or 7 references to Arthur. Here, Doctor Who has 6 or 7 references to vampires, and Stargate really only has one vampiric character, which is the Wraith, which was the main villain for all of Stargate Atlantis. So it's kind of flipped in this regard.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. That's cool.
That's a good point. Well, considering Doctor Who and some of the themes, vampiric themes, as well as directly relating to vampires, stories that come to my mind are obviously State of Decay, for you classic series fans with Tom Baker and Romana, and when they go into E-Space. Curse of Fenric, which is not exactly vampires, it's hemivores.
But they do use the word vampire.
They do use the word vampire, that's true. And then obviously with the new series, the Fish People, Saturnine.
Yeah, the
Plasmavores.
There's also the Plasmavores from Smith and Jones. And they're
which I think has got to be the politest vampire ever with the straw. You know,
that's classy.
It is classy. You know, it's less messy that way.
It was Plasmavores, and
she had to get her special straw. It adds more fizz.
It's like having the curly ones, right?
Yeah.
You know?
But so one of the things I thought was interesting is, again, just like how both shows used the Arthurian legend to better fit how they tell stories, the 2 shows here use vampires in the same way. For Doctor Who, the focus of the vampire is this evil enemy that the Time Lords fought, but then again, who haven't they fought? And the focus is the vampire as the monster, and either it's this gigantic creature from the dawn of time, or it's more of a Nosferatu type of creature, or it's something that sucks your blood, but there's not much left of the vampire mythology. With the vampires in Venice, they were substituting blood, and they didn't cast a reflection, but as of all things in New Who, it's a perception filter. So it's interesting. So with Stargate, what they did was they went and said, okay, we're going to do more of a classic vampire. We're going to focus on the culture of the Wraith. It's the relationships between the Wraith and their hive, and we're going to actually have Renfield-like worshippers, and we're going to actually talk about the extending of life and deal with that aspect of vampirism.
And the concept of hibernation as well.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how much it relates to Stargate in this respect, but in our last panel we were talking about the idea of magic, and in this case I'm going to extend it to the supernatural, but taking the ideas of magic and the supernatural and making them more scientifically based. And in Doctor Who, that's exactly what happens in every vampiric case.
Right.
It makes it a more scientific explanation.
It's not a supernatural vampire, it's an alien that's what we would think of as a vampire.
Right. How is that with Stargate?
Stargate's the same way. It's the Wraith are genetically modified, a race that was part of the original war between the ancients, and they're a close cousin to some bug. The rat bug. And so it's all very biological. They talk about the enzyme that they use to feed, and that will drain you of life. So it's visually, the effect is very dramatic and very supernatural. But then, like all good science fiction, they fill in the blanks by explaining the chemistry about how it works.